Wireless systems for guitar become more and more affordable. Some of them are ridiculously cheap. At the same time, digital wireless systems slowly but surely become an industry standard, which is easy to understand. Every country has its own frequency regulations, and when you travel around the world, you would normally need to pay in order to use certain frequencies. Not with digital wireless systems, because they work on the same frequency as Wi-Fi. And this solves a lot of problems. Surprisingly, when it comes to in-ear monitoring, there is not much. I was looking for such system to use on tour for monitoring, and AudioLink Pro was the only one I found. And the price is okay. In fact, it is even cheaper than most of the devices produced by the leading manufacturer. I've actually got mine from this store. Before I show you how it works, let's take a look at the box and specs real quick. On the back side of the box, you can see that AudioLink Pro is actually a very flexible device. You can use it as a regular wireless system for different instruments. You can also use it for in-ear monitoring, or even as a USB sound card. Specs say the wireless range is up to 100 feet, which is around 30 meters, and battery life is 4 to 6 hours. We're gonna test that later on. Now let's take a look at what's inside of the box. As you can see, everything is packed into this travel bag, which is very good to have. It is pretty solid and it keeps everything in order. Here we got both the transmitter and the receiver. This is a standard European plug with 5-volt USB output. And this is microphone and headphones adapter. This is a two-way system, so you can listen to the music and play at the same time. Here we have quick start guide with all basic functions described and a user manual. It is in English. Open the zipper and you will find a lot of different cables and accessories. Here we have 3.5mm stereo jack-to-jack cable with an adapter, 2 short mono jack guitar cables, stereo mini jack to 2 mono jacks Y cable, 2 of them, USB lead for charging. With this one you can charge both the transmitter and the receiver at the same time. And finally, data USB lead to connect the transmitter to the computer. Here is the whole set of accessories once again. Well, let's take a closer look at the device. First of all, I have to admit that these things are really small and the weight is close to nothing. It's all plastic. They both have a USB connector on the side, but one of them says USB power and another one USB interface, because you can connect your transmitter to the computer and use it as a sound card. Transmitter has mode instruction on the back side. There's a reset button on the other side and audio input-output on the top. The clip design is sort of questionable. It is a metal piece mounted on the plastic, and I think it's not gonna last long. The clip itself has a pretty useful mount for a camera tripod. This is going to be priceless for movie makers. Also, the manufacturer suggests using external battery blocks, just like this one for example, to extend battery life. Both devices have similar controls, a pair of volume buttons, power button, link button to link both devices, mute button. The transmitter has a mode button to choose between mono and stereo mode and low and high gain. There's also a lock button. The receiver has additional buttons to control media player on the computer. To power them up, simply hold power button for a couple of seconds. The LED will start blinking, and as soon as it changes to solid green, both devices are connected to each other. If for some reason they didn't connect, you need to pair them. Hold link button on the receiver until LED starts to blink. Now do the same on the transceiver. When it turns solid, they are connected. Let's go through different modes of the transceiver. To make it easy to use, there's an instruction on the backside. 2 quick flashes mean stereo mode. Now I hold mode button for a couple of seconds and it starts flashing slowly. This is mono preamp mode. Now I hold mode button once again and it flashes quickly. This is mono line in mode. Modes are switched in a loop and now I can go back to stereo mode. You can disable controls on the transmitter by holding the lock button. The manual says to unlock it, press the lock button once, but it actually doesn't work like that. You have to hold it. To test the wireless range, I found a parking lot with an even grid. The width of each row is 2.5 meters, so I only need to count the amount of rows to figure out the wireless range. Well, I'm about to make some tests outside. I have my camera mounted on a tripod with the receiver on top of it. I also have this mic here, which is connected to transmitter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. As I started to move away from the camera, there were significant dropouts and the sound completely disappeared after 20 meters or 65 feet. 2, 21, 20. This must be 50 meters. 9. On my way back, the situation was different and it reconnected exactly at 30 meters or 100 feet mark. 12, 11, 10. Well, now I'm 25 meters away. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The next test is for frequency response. The idea is very simple. I pass white noise sample through the device and then analyze it. First, I have to create a sample with high sample rate and generate some white noise. The response of such sample is completely flat. Now, to pass the sample to the device, I'm using True Selector from AMT Electronics. The output of my sound card is connected to the input of True Selector, and after that the sound goes back to the computer. True Selector has 2 effect loops, A and B, and I can choose between them by pressing the button. I want loop B to be a bypass loop with no alteration to the sound, so I connect send to return with a patch cable. Now I can create my wireless loop and connect transmitter to send and receiver to return. Now I'm gonna play the sample and record the signal that comes from True Selector. First of all, we can see that the sound in the wireless loop is attenuated. The analysis of the bypass loop tells us there's a little bit of cut-off in the higher range caused by cable connections. Now let's analyze the wireless loop. There's a cut-off in high frequencies at around 20 kHz. The cut-off in low frequencies starts higher than claimed by the manufacturer, at about 40 Hz. These may actually affect lower notes of the bass guitar. As any other digital device, AudioLink Pro has some latency, and to figure out how much latency does it have, I recorded a scratch on my guitar with a sharp attack. For this test I'm using a splitter or ABY switch. It has 1 input and 2 different outputs. I can choose one or another output by pressing the button. I can also send signal to both outputs at the same time. Output B is a bypass and connected directly to the sound card. Output A connected to the sound card through the AudioLink Pro. Now if I play the sample and record 2 outputs simultaneously, I can measure the latency between bypass signal and AudioLink Pro. and the actual latency is about 17 milliseconds. At the end, we have wireless range of 30 meters or 100 feet, stable range is shorter though. Frequency response 40 Hz to 20 kHz, latency 17 milliseconds. I've made some more tests and figured out receiver's battery lives longer. Values are within the range specified by the manufacturer. Both transmitter and receiver require the same time to charge, approximately 2 hours and 10 minutes. I didn't notice any interference with other wireless devices. I've also tried a few other things, like connecting it to the computer and using it as a USB audio interface. I've even made some recordings with it, and it worked just fine. It seems though that this device is more popular among movie makers than among musicians. Two pros and cons. We've already talked about its flexibility, and the screw mount somehow tells us that it was designed with movie making in mind. Its price makes it very affordable. On the other hand, professional musicians are used to devices in a metal enclosure. Things made of plastic tend to die faster under heavy touring conditions. There is also no cable lock, which means those who love to dance on stage are under the risk of losing the connection somewhere in the middle of the song. The wireless range could be bigger, or at least the connection could be a little bit more stable. Another questionable design solution is the power button. Normally wireless devices have a slide switch. When you play on stage and the transmitter is fixed on the back of your guitar strap, you don't see it, and the slide switch is the only thing that lets you know if it is on or off because you can feel it. Unfortunately, AudioLink Pro doesn't give you such an option. Built-in battery, even though it lives pretty long, is actually a problem. Once it suddenly drains, your gig is screwed, unless you have a special external battery. This is why using normal batteries is some sort of industry standard for wireless devices. I hope this video answered the questions you might have had. If I missed anything, please let me know below in the comments. I would love to read about your experience with this device. That's it for now, don't forget to subscribe, and well, thanks for watching.